Woo! It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way. Yeah, hold on.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bubba Let's Sports Podcast. Episode 128. Tonight, we remember great organizations, great teams, and the league that was the XFL. Had to light the candle for that one. For those of you just listening, I just lit the candle that has been on my table for about 4 episodes now, just to have a memorial of the XFL. I don't have any memorabilia or anything that resembles the XFL, so that we're just going to rock with it. But yes, news coming out today from ESPN and multiple sources that the XFL has laid off many of its employees and has canceled the rest of the season due to world circumstances and plans on not returning for the 2021 season, which confused me because I thought their TV deal was at least 2 years, if not more. But it looks like the XFL is officially dead. And I am upset. I had just recorded an episode talking about my personal life, what's been going on in my mind. If you haven't watched that already, please do, because I want you to be a part of that journey as well when we get to it. And I mentioned it a lot more in that episode. But this hurt. This one hurt today. Not having sports for a whole month now. And the XFL has not only done things for me, but also this channel. It was one of the first episodes that I had on here. It's probably been the best viewed video on my channel. The most listened to podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It did probably the greatest on social media. And you can tell from that episode that I was so excited for the XFL. I truly was. I was happy that had been the alternative for the NFL. And everything that they've done so far. There were some, it's not perfect, but some of the things that it had done, rule changes, teams, players, I saw the potential. I saw a future in the XFL. And personally, I know it's a little stretched, but I saw myself, I even said it on that episode. I was like, I could be the official podcast for the XFL or for a team. I feel like I would fit in great with the XFL. And I could probably get a really good start in my career with that. And it's a dream that's hard to come by, and it wouldn't be easy, because then you're at the pinnacle. You're at ESPN. You're at Fox Sports, which is for another episode, which came out a week ago. But the XFL had, for me, become a whole new side of sports, whole new side of football, in particular. Where I was just like, look, I don't need to focus on anything. I don't need to, have to dial in and learn all the stats and know. This was just a casual game of football that I can watch and enjoy. I didn't have to take it that seriously, even though it was a really competitive sport, and a lot of those guys are NFL ready guys. But it just felt nice to where, the crowd knows what type of atmosphere it brings to the table. The teams know, the owners know. The commissioner knew. They knew what they were bringing to the table. They knew exactly what type of audience they were going to. It's people that love football, but they're not really dedicated to a team yet. They have one in their city, but it's kind of like, oh, we're just going to go out there, have some fun, spend $10 on a ticket, and just have a snake trail of beer cups. Isn't that amazing? And that's allowed. Try doing that at an NFL game. all these like restrictions and the seriousness of that NFL league. It's, you're dedicated to one team and you hate another. You just like watching football, and that's what the XFL was. It was for the love of the game. And to not even finish its first season, that was going well in my eyes. They had potential, and they have names that really stood out and made a name for themselves. Not PJ Tucker, PJ Walker. Like, that man was taking the league by storm, and he actually got signed in the NFL. And you can name like at least 5 guys from the XFL that have signed with the NFL, with teams in the NFL, and you're like, I know that guy. That guy's actually really good. It's not just some random. But just the whole league, the changes, the like 1, 2, 3-point conversions, the kickoffs, like, it was just nice to watch. It was refreshing. It was nice to see. It was a change. And I enjoyed it heavily. I know a lot of you that I've talked to, you guys are like, I haven't caught a game, or I've only watched like a glimpse of a game. It's tough because it didn't even finish its first season. I really thought that going into the playoffs, that was going to draw numbers, and a lot of people would start to see what it brought to the table, what potential it had, and it did. It had a lot of progress to make, but it had a lot of upside. And watching those playoffs, like the Houston Roughnecks, if you got to watch them play at least one game, you saw a team. You saw a star-studded team with Walker, led by him, and a really good, solid team all around. Those guys knew how to play together. And a team that has been, they had been together for, I'd say, a year, but only have 4 or 5 games under their belt together. They looked tremendous. The St. Louis Battlehawks, they were fun to watch. They're popping seltzers in the locker room right after a win. Who isn't a fan of that? Who isn't a fan of just chugging beers and seltzers in a locker room right after you win a football game? See a 400-pound lineman do that. I am in. I'm tuned in. And now it's gone. It's sad to see, man. It really is. It really is sad to see. Not much to it, though. Not much I can talk about. Because this is the whole reason why this happened, why there's not going to be a return, is it never got started. It never had its ability to grow and go past its first season to where people don't watch the playoffs and feel like, oh, wow, this is something I could watch next year. I'm definitely enticed. I can definitely support this team now after watching a full season of it. We don't get to see who was the best team in the XFL. And really, we didn't see what Walker could do the entire season. Imagine the whole season for him to have. Through 4 or 5 games, that man was putting up stats. Man was running. Man was throwing. He was balling out. And we only got a small glimpse of it. We got a piece of the pie. We didn't get the full thing, even though you're hungry. That's the market, though. No person is going to remember the XFL if you're a casual football fan and a year from now. You're just going to say, when does the NFL start? We don't know when the NFL is going to start. We have no clue yet. We know there's a draft. We don't know anything else. The XFL, well, if you didn't even watch the first few games or didn't watch the last few games of the season, you already forgotten about it. And then this was just a reminder like, oh, yeah, that was a thing. But then you're just going to forget about it in a day. You're just going to be like, oh, all right. Unless you're dedicated to one team who signed an XFL player. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, those XFL guys. That's it. That's all it was. But all the money, all the deals, all gone for the XFL. So attempt number 2 for the XFL, which went way better than the first time. Even in just a few months, that thing was a lot better than it was the first time around. Because it was legitimate. It was it was a whole new approach to watching football. It wasn't a competitor to the NFL. It was a, not regulation, but a developmental way of getting into the NFL. And a way to say, look, we know you like the NFL. We all know that the NFL is the superior league. But while that's not going on, watch us, because these guys will probably be in the NFL next season. And you'll know who they are, and you'll enjoy them. And if they sign with your team, that's an even better story, because you'll like them. You already have a kink to them. And we can all look back at this and say, look, the XFL isn't the greatest league in the world, and it's not the NFL. But damn, it was nice to watch. It was fun to watch. Sit down, have a beer. It's right after that withdrawal of the Super Bowl or just the NFL in general. You can enjoy some cold brews with the boys. Sit down on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and enjoy some football on your couch. Well, isn't that nice? How about go take, even if you go more personal with it, on how, people that can't afford tickets to NFL games because they're so expensive, or they just don't have the means for it. And instead of paying, let's say, $2,000 for a 50-yard line seat at AT&T Stadium for the Dallas Cowboys, you get to be at the 50-yard line for the Dallas Renegades for $20. But you get to have that time with your family, friends, significant other, and you get to have yourselves a good time, have a good memory in life, all due to the fact because you have a love for football, and the XFL was there. That's how it is for me. I'd always grown up not seeing anything of the first edition of the XFL and wanting to know what it was like, wanting to know what it could have been, or could it be again. And this was, for me, I love a good who doesn't love a good underdog story? I know I do. And this would be an amazing story to tell. It's like, at some point, the XFL is right there with the NFL. People enjoy the XFL. We all love sports. That's why you guys are here. I love sports more than the next guy. So seeing something grow into a legitimate league and something that's appreciated by everyone in the world, something that's talked about, that's an amazing story in itself. We get to see it from the ground up. And if it succeeds, there's so many stories of players, of coaches, of teams itself that we'll think about in 50 years. Now we can't say that because it lasted half a season. Not even half a season. I try to watch as much XFL as I could. Every single weekend, even though I worked, I try to record the games. Try to watch them. I didn't talk about it enough on this podcast because I just didn't want to say the wrong things, because I didn't feel like I watched enough of it. But it also just became a point where, like, I was in Colorado and I was on the TV and I saw XFL and I was like, oh my God, yes, thank you. Because at that point I didn't get to see any of the sports going on that week when I was in Colorado. There wasn't a good reception for like Wi-Fi, or we weren't home in our rental home most of the time, our rental cabin. So we were out and about, and with the bad reception, I didn't get updates on sports. So that the only time in that weekend where I got to see some sports or know about sports was the XFL, and I was enjoying myself. Right before my sister's wedding, I was watching the St. Louis Battlehawks. I'm sorry, but I was getting my speech ready, and it just happened to be on, and I was like, okay, now I can relax, and enjoy some food, and watch this. Yeah, that's the type of thing that sports is, and that's what the XFL was, which is something casual, something very easy to consume, and the fact that it didn't end on its own terms. No, they didn't say like, hey, look, we just don't feel like this is going to go anywhere, so after the season, we're going to end it. Like, kind of how like a show is. Like, your favorite show doesn't get an extension of a season. Another season. And you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, at least we get to enjoy the last few parts of it. Instead of it like halfway through the season and it's a really good season, and then you just snatch it away and say it got canceled. You're kind of like, oh, that hurts because you didn't get the chance to appreciate it at the end. And that's what it was. That's how it was. Especially with how it went the first time. Because this is the second time in a row to where the XFL doesn't succeed. You know what they say, though. Third time's a charm. We'll see you in 2040, people. Vince McMahon will be 90. He'll be in a wheelchair. They'll still buff as shit. And you'll see the Dallas Renegades winning the title. You'll see who we got. We'll say PJ Walker, the third. No, 20 years from now, the second. We'll see him balling out with the Houston Roughnecks. You'll love to see it. We'll see you then, people. But yeah, I've been a real fan, and what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Believer. Wow, I'm dumb. Huge believer in the XFL ever since they announced that it was coming back. I think it was 3 years ago now. I was still doing the podcast, and I forget what episode it was, but they had just announced the XFL was coming back. I was doing it in this room, so it had to be before. It's not 4 years ago, but I think it was 3 years ago. Because I was still doing it on my laptop. It had to be 3 years ago. I was in this corner, and I was talking about it. No YouTube. I was still on Spreaker, which I had to pay for just to get it on that website. It wasn't on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Jesus Christ. I don't think you can hear that episode anymore. Wow. It's been that long. That's crazy. That had to be in like episode 20, episode 30. Oof. And then I was talking about how the XFL, how they can succeed this time. Man. Look how far we come. Candle. XFL. That one's for you, buddy. Rest in peace. All right, people. Man, the 2 episodes that I've recorded are really sad. Oof. All right. This is going to do it for this episode of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or subscribe on YouTube. We are 65 subscribers into YouTube. We are so close to our goal of 75 and getting closer to 100. If you haven't already, please subscribe and ring that bell for alerts and notifications. We'll see you next time on another episode of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast.
Now who is he? It's the boy Bubba Lutz coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's the boy Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way.